The entire NFL world woke up today feeling like something shifted under their feet because what happened in Detroit was not just a wild finish, not just controversial flags, not just another primetime game gone sideways, but a full-on power grab that nobody wanted to admit was coming. Because when Aaron Rodgers walked into Detroit wearing black and gold and walked out with a 29-24 win that left Lions fans stunned, officials arguing, and analysts almost shouting over each other, the message was loud even if people are still trying to whisper it. The Pittsburgh Steelers just planted their flag on the AFC North, and Rex Ryan saying they are kings isn't some hot take exaggeration, it's a warning shot. Because this game exposed everything people were afraid to say out loud. That Detroit isn't as untouchable as advertised, that Pittsburgh is tougher, smarter, and more adaptable than anyone gave them credit for, and that Aaron Rodgers, written off, doubted, mocked, and dissected for years, now is suddenly pulling strings again in a way that feels deeply uncomfortable for a conference that thought it had already moved on from him. Because this wasn't a lucky bounce win. This wasn't a fluke. This was a physical takeover capped by chaos, controversy, and a final stand at the goal line that turned a roaring stadium into pure disbelief. And the reason this game matters so much is because it forced everyone to confront the reality they've been dancing around all season. That the Steelers aren't surviving games, they're dictating them. And when the dust settled and the flags flew and the arguments began, the only thing that actually stood was the scoreboard. Steelers 29, Lions 24. And suddenly the entire AFC North conversation feels different, heavier, more urgent, and a lot more uncomfortable for teams that assumed Pittsburgh would eventually fade. What happened was simple on paper, but explosive in reality. The Lions hosted the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers under center, and from the opening moments, it was clear this game wasn't going to follow a clean script. Because even before halftime, the tone was set with a play that immediately ignited controversy. 11 seconds left, Steelers down 10-3. Rodgers takes a shot, a one-handed catch attempt that gets ruled incomplete and then overturned. Pass interference called, and suddenly the Steelers tie the game. And right there you could feel the tension crackle because decisions like that don't just change scores, they change emotional momentum. And from that point forward, Detroit never fully recovered its footing. And if you're enjoying this breakdown, if you want more real conversations about what's actually happening in the NFL instead of sugar-coated narratives, go ahead and hit subscribe and leave a like, because this story isn't slowing down anytime soon. From there, the game unfolded into a brutal, revealing test of identity. Pittsburgh leaned into explosive runs, Jaylen Warren ripping off back-breaking gains, cutting back through lanes that simply shouldn't exist against a team like Detroit. And every time the Lions thought they had stabilized, the Steelers answered with another punch, another 45-yard touchdown, another reminder that run defense isn't about reputation, it's about execution. And Detroit failed that test over and over again. And when Khalif Raymond broke loose to keep the Lions alive, when Gibbs slipped into the flat to score, it felt like the game was setting up for a classic Detroit escape. But that's when everything spiraled into one of the most chaotic endings we've seen all year. 4th and 2 from their own 35. Lions go for it. Penalty keeps the drive alive. Borderline, bang bang. The kind of call that if it doesn't get thrown, nobody complains. And that's important, because this game wasn't stolen on one whistle. It was shaped by dozens of moments where Detroit left itself vulnerable. And then came the goal line, madness. 1st and goal from the 1. What looks like an easy touchdown erased by an offensive pass interference that even the analysts called atrocious. An awful call where the defender initiated contact, and suddenly Detroit is scrambling, and then the final play, St. Brown extending both arms, creating separation, and that one the panel agreed on. That's offensive pass interference, that's the right call, and when the clock runs out, when the refs converge, when Goff laterals into the end zone, and everyone thinks Detroit has pulled it off, reality crashes back down. Game over. Steelers win. And the rage, confusion, and disbelief explode. Jared Goff himself admitted he thought the earlier call was bad, said he's never seen 2 offensive pass interference calls end a game like that. And that's where this conversation gets deeper. Because yes, the officiating was messy. Yes, one call was wrong. But the bigger truth is something Rex Ryan and others zeroed in on immediately. Detroit didn't lose this game because of the refs. They lost it because they were physically dominated. They gave up explosive runs all night. They couldn't run the ball themselves. And when you can't control the line of scrimmage, you leave your fate in the hands of officials, and that's never where you want to be. What Rex Ryan hammered home, and why his declaration carries so much weight, is that this was one of the most impressive wins by any team all season, because Pittsburgh went into Detroit and whooped them on both sides of the line, something nobody expected, especially considering this was supposed to be a Steelers defense that could be run on, and instead Detroit got nothing, while Pittsburgh created chunk play after chunk play, and that's where Aaron Rodgers re-enters the conversation in a way that makes people uneasy, because in the last 3 weeks, by the panel's own admission, he's throwing the ball as well as he has since 2022. And whether you believe it's the arm, the mind, or the command, the effect is the same. This offense suddenly works. Everyone's touches matter. From recent arrivals making immediate impacts to role players maximizing every opportunity. And that doesn't happen by accident. That happens when a quarterback elevates everyone around him. There was even debate on whether Rodgers' throws themselves are the story, or if it's his mental control, his ability to get in and out of bad plays, to manage the game, to enhance roles. And that argument actually strengthens the case, because it means Pittsburgh doesn't need vintage highlight reel Rodgers. They need a conductor, and right now, they have one. And then comes the part that should send chills through the rest of the division, the context. Because just weeks ago, Pittsburgh fans were chanting to fire Mike Tomlin, the same song, different year, and now, after 3 straight wins, the Steelers are 1 win or 1 Ravens loss away from locking up the AFC North, while preseason favorites stumble and narratives crumble, and the irony is thick. The team that supposedly wanted its coach gone is on the verge of a division title, and that's why Rex Ryan's Kings of the AFC North line hits so hard, because it's not hype. It's math, it's momentum, it's physical evidence. Meanwhile, Detroit is left wrestling with uncomfortable questions, not about whether their Super Bowl window is closed, because even Rex Ryan pushed back on that, pointing out their offense is still elite and their defense can't possibly be worse, but about something more fundamental, their identity in the trenches. Because the rebuild was built on offensive line dominance, and now that strength looks like a weakness. And you don't fix that overnight. You don't snap your fingers and get that edge back, especially when your quarterback isn't a running threat that forces defenses to hesitate, and Pittsburgh knew that, exploited it, and never let go. This game changed the temperature of the season because it reframed the Steelers from a scrappy survivor into a legitimate power. It reframed Rodgers from a question mark into a stabilizing force, and it reframed the AFC North as a division that still runs through Pittsburgh until proven otherwise. And the most uncomfortable truth for everyone watching is that none of this came from trick plays, gimmicks, or luck. It came from blocking, tackling, discipline, and timely execution, the oldest truths in football. And when the dust settles and the outrage over flags fades, that's what remains. The Steelers went into Detroit, took the fight to the Lions, absorbed the chaos, stood tall at the goal line, and walked out with a win that echoed far beyond the final whistle, because whether people like it or not, the AFC North crown is now Pittsburgh's to lose, and Aaron Rodgers is standing right at the center of it, calm, calculated, and once again impossible to ignore.